Hi, hey, and hello there. Obi-Han here, and welcome back to the Comic High Ground. All right, so you don't have to tell me. I know I'm like 2 episodes behind on She-Hulk. It's been kind of busy. So in this video, I'm gonna review episode 3 and episode 4. Starting with episode 3, of course, it starts out with Jen going to talk to Blonsky about his cage fighting in Shang-Chi, in which he tells her that Wong was the one who got him out and that he didn't break him out. Wait, I'm sorry, and that he didn't break out. But yeah, he didn't break out. Wong got him out. So she goes forward to try to contact Wong, and he has like this LinkedIn profile, and that's kind of how her friend is able to get in contact with him. Wong does meet her and tells her that he did get him out, and it was for some type of Sorcerer Supreme training thing he was doing, and he offered to let Blonsky stay out, but Blonsky chose to go back to his prison cell, which is kind of the basis of Jen's case at this point. That's what she's going to use as one of the things that gets him out of jail. So now that Jennifer has this out for Blonsky, she asks Wong to basically come to the case or trial and testify for Blonsky, which Wong is kind of hesitant, but he does end up doing or agreeing to. Meanwhile, the B plot of this episode is basically the guy who used to work with Jen, who she used to work with, the male jerk from like the first 2 episodes. He has come to her firm because he needs help with a super case. See, he thought he was dating Meg the Stallion, and it turns out that Meg the Stallion was an Asgardian shapeshifter. And this is kind of played for laughs because people are like, how in the world did you think you were dating the real Meg the Stallion? Which is fair, I guess, because there's no reason she would need that guy's money or need to take him for everything he owns. So it's a situation where this is kind of like a running gag, and this guy, again, the ever constant jerk of the show, has kind of become like this comedic aspect of this episode, and the plots kind of coincide or mesh together at some point. They kind of come to a meeting point when Jen is trying to figure out how to handle the Blonsky case later on in the episode, and he somehow, I can't remember the phrasing he used, but he gives her the idea of basically nullifying Blonsky's powers. So Blonsky is able to get out of jail due to the fact that she gets access to his collar and basically has him promise that he will wear the collar so that he can't transform into Abomination again. Wong, of course, does testify, and it helps out a lot. But it's kind of funny because then the officials or whatever are like, okay, yeah, Wong, Blonsky didn't break out of jail. You broke him out. So we can't blame him for that. But we do blame you because you committed an illegal act. And Wong is kind of like, all right, I'm out. And opens a portal and leaves. So that's very hilarious, especially considering the implications for the next episode. So after the trial, Blonsky is pretty much free. He rides off on his bus while his groupies are kind of watching him drive off. The most interesting part about this episode, though, is kind of after this, which is when Jen is walking home at night and she gets attacked by this crew of people, keyword crew, and she transforms into She-Hulk. And then it comes to find out that she's fighting against these people or these young guys who have these magical weapons from Asgard. And I said crew because basically this is supposed to be the MCU's version of the Wrecking Crew. I'm really, really hoping that this isn't their look because they don't look threatening at all. They're just like a bunch of teenagers, or they look like a bunch of teenagers holding colorful weapons that are super powered, I guess. And that pretty much takes care of all the important things that happen in the episode. Now, I do want to mention one more thing, which is the scene in the courtroom where Megan Thee Stallion actually did show up in the audience for that Asgardian case. And in the after credit scene, she shows up to Jennifer's office and basically asks her to be her lawyer, which is fine. That's fine. But then there's this controversial part where they're twerking. And I say controversial because the internet went crazy when that scene released. Like, everybody was just talking about it. We had a lot of complaints, a whole lot of complaints, and then some people who were okay with it. Personally, I actually like Megan Thee Stallion, so I was quite entertained by it. And I think that people are forgetting that She-Hulk is supposed to be a slightly comedic or a largely comedic show for the most part. So her twerking is not that bad. And to be honest, it's not really out of character either. We're talking about the same She-Hulk who jumped rope naked on the panels of a comic or on the cover of a comic book. So come on, people, just can you chill? Stop taking things so seriously. It's supposed to be a comedic moment. Just deal with it, enjoy it. And that was a review for episode 3. Now let's get to episode 4. This episode to me was probably the most entertaining of all 4 of them so far. And it might be because this show is finally starting to kind of get its footing or maybe find its identity, if you will. But it also had a lot more action, I think, than the other 3 episodes. So the episode starts off with this hack magician performing in front of the audience, and the audience doesn't really seem to be too amused, which makes sense because they do live in a world with Doctor Strange and Wong and a lot of other fantastical things. So some second-rate magician probably wouldn't amuse them. In any case, he ends up calling up this drunk girl to the stage. I guess she's a college girl, I don't know. But he pulls out a sling ring from Doctor Strange and basically opens a portal and sends the girl through the portal. Now, somehow she finds herself at Wong's place, and Wong is sitting here chilling, watching this show, or getting ready to watch this show. Then, much like an RKO, out of nowhere comes drunk college girl, and she basically spoils the episode for Wong. So, needless to say, he's ticked off, and he wants, for lack of a better phrase, payback. So he then goes to Jennifer and asks her to represent him in a case because he wants to sue this hack magician. Jennifer agrees, and they basically come up with this cease and desist, if you will. And basically, that's kind of how the episode progresses from there. They do go to court, and the judge is kind of like, yeah, you are a hack magician, but I don't see any reason why I have to stop you from using magic. So we'll just kind of not suspend, but like postpone the case or whatever until they make an actual decision. Meanwhile, Jennifer has signed up for this dating app, and she puts her own picture on there and then doesn't get a lot of hits. So her friend asks her about using She-Hulk as the profile, and eventually, after getting no hits and then finally getting one date that turns out to be like this jerk who doesn't want to pay the bill, Jennifer does go ahead and use her She-Hulk persona as a profile, and then she gets plenty of hits then. But then there's just like this dating montage, and in this dating montage, she's kind of dealing with all these different jerks, or I guess people who are kind of self-obsessed, until finally she comes across this one guy who seems to be really cool. He's like a doctor or something, and Jennifer really likes him, so she does actually go out with this guy, and then Jennifer, or She-Hulk, I should say, because she's She-Hulk at this point. She-Hulk brings him home, and the funny thing is, while all this is going on, the hack magician has started another show and opens a portal, but this time he opens a portal and unleashes like this swarm of creatures of some sort, and he needs Wong's help. So he goes to Wong, and Wong ends up calling Jennifer, and this is while Jennifer's in the middle of her date. So she ends up having to come over there to help Wong because he opens a portal for her, and she kind of helps him deal with the creatures. And then finally, after helping him, and she comes back and she gets to have her date night. But then we get to the part of the episode which I saw coming, and I was hoping they wouldn't do it like this, but they did. Basically, the next morning, Jen makes breakfast and everything, and the guy wakes up and he sees her and he's like, "Yeah, I'm out." So Jennifer has this disappointed look on her face, and that right there is kind of my issue with the episode and pretty much with She-Hulk so far as a show. It's kind of a situation where there's not a lot of positive male representation in the show at all. Like right now, all we got is Wong, basically. That's our positive male representation, Wong. So hopefully, especially by the time Matt comes into play, the show will get better. We kind of got a teaser about Daredevil popping up on there, so we can only imagine how that's going to be. Hopefully it'll be cool, but again, we will see. Regardless, that's pretty much my thoughts on the 3rd and 4th episode of She-Hulk. It's getting better, I say, but again, there's these glaring things, and I keep saying that. I don't know how many strikes the show has gotten at this point, but that's how it is, and I'm trying to be patient and see if they fix what they're doing. And it doesn't look like they are, but at least this time the issues were a little less egregious than they had been. And they still haven't addressed the wrecking crew situation in this episode, We don't know who sent them or why. I didn't mention that in the third episode review, but they were trying to get Jennifer's blood. So we don't know really who sent them and why they're trying to do that. We can only imagine they might be trying to make a Hulk army or something. So we'll see in the coming episodes. But again, that was my review for She-Hulk episodes 3 and 4. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you liked the video, give me a like. And hey, remember, we have the high ground. See you later.